Hi everyone, welcome back to Storytime Recaps. In this video, I'm going to recap one of the film from 2017. It comes at night. Without any further, let's get started. The movie opens in an empty and isolated place. A family attempts to flee a deadly illness that has already taken many lives. Sarah's father is in danger of dying after getting the illness. Her husband, Paul, has been fiercely protective of his family's safety since there was not much hope. With the family's permission, Paul shot the elderly man and set his body ablaze in the bush. Since the loss of a family member had been so difficult for Sarah and his 17-year-old son Travis, the only way to enter the house was through a red door that was shut. The family couldn't go outside, and the door had to remain closed and secured to prevent infection. One evening, when Travis unexpectedly opened his grandfather's room and discovered him seated on the bed, a loud bang suddenly sounded, waking his son from his dream. The family, barely breathing, made their way to the hallway with the red door as Stanley, their dog, kept on shouting loudly. Paul guides his family, who are terrified and carrying a gun. They move gently so that their footsteps don't make any noise. Then, suddenly, a man in a shirt entered their house. Paul tensely struck the man's head with his firearm to save his family, and he and his son quickly tied the man to a tree so he wouldn't be able to contact them. Sarah, however, ensured that the red door was shut firmly. After several days, Paul went to the thirsty guy who had broken their door to get genuine responses. When the lone man finally identified himself, Paul provided water as a reward. The man, who was crying, told Paul about his family, since he was in dire need of water, and why he shattered the door, believing it to be abandoned. After being moved by the man's story, Paul allows him to drink water. Sarah encouraged him to put together the man's family in their home rather than letting him go, and Paul agreed, remembering that the man has animals that can serve as food for his family. After planning a strategy, Paul let Will go. Armed with the necessary materials, they traveled together through dangerous locations to save the other family. A few kilometers from their house, a gunshot near their car caused it to crash in the woods. When he rolled beneath his car, the unknown armed man was shot by Paul. When several days, Paul managed to get back home with the entire Will family, which Sarah was happy to see. Paul, being protective, instantly sets home rules for everyone's protection, reminding them not to leave the house at night. The most important rule in Paul's family is that the red door must always be kept locked and closed. Since that day, Paul, Will, and Travis appear to have become friends. This is similar to how Sarah and Kim, the ladies from both families, get along at home. One night, Travis woke up in bed to find Will's wife Kim sitting on top of him slowly. Kim kissed Travis passionately, and Travis opened his eyes, gasping as he saw the blood dripping from Kim's mouth. Travis woke up and realized he was dreaming. Travis, bothered by his thoughts, went downstairs to the kitchen with his lamp on and discovered Kim sitting there, also unable to fall asleep. During an unplanned chat, Travis revealed that he had been having nightmares for some time. Kim eagerly listened to Travis's condition and stories, and the two enjoyed their conversation until Travis became agitated when Kim inquired about his age.
I should just probably...
The following day, as the three men went about their daily business outside, Paul noticed Travis looking at Kim, reminding him to only put his trust in his family. When Stanley, the family dog, suddenly starts barking and turns to face the woods, Paul and Travis get alarmed. Despite being restrained, Stanley was able to get away and made his way to the dark forest. Panicked, Travis ran after Stanley shouting. The 17-year-old boy kept looking for Stanley in the woods until he heard a noise, stopped, and aimed his gun. The area was silent, and he could no longer hear Stanley's bark. Just before Travis fired his gun, Paul came to his aid. After Paul tells Travis that his dog will be returning shortly, the three of them return home. When nightfall arrived and the dog was gone, Travis was upset and anxious. In the meantime, Will and Paul chatted over wine. Travis woke up in the middle of the night and, unable to sleep, wandered around the house with his lamp. He heard a faint sound coming from his grandfather's room and went inside to discover Will's kid, tiny Andrew, sleeping on the chilly floor. After waking Andrew and taking him to his parents' room, Travis hears a banging sound. He goes downstairs and discovers that he is in the rear corridor leading to the red door. The banging sound persisted, leading Travis to believe that his father was outside. Then, with a loud shriek coming from the doorway, Travis ran to his parents' room. "Dad, there's someone outside," he said, carrying a mask and a rifle. Paul and Will hurried to the door, and to their surprise, it was their blood-covered dog Stanley. When Travis found out it was his dog, he shook. Paul believes the dog has the illness, therefore he kept Travis away.
Go, please, please.
After burning the dog in the woods with Will's assistance, Paul gathered everyone and informed them that only he and Will were permitted to walk outdoors as a precaution. When Paul asked if he had opened the room where they discovered the dog, Travis said he didn't touch the door, which was already open.
I don't know.
Everyone was perplexed by this and wanted to know who had unlocked the door. Travis cut them off by claiming that it was Andrew because he had seen him having nightmares in Grandpa's room. Everyone was unaware of that, so Paul asked Travis to explain what had happened. Travis argued that Andrew might have unlocked the door. As a result, when Kim asked his son Andrew if Travis's allegations were true, Andrew said that he did not see the dog last night and denied it. When his son's answer didn't convince Kim, Paul stepped in and inquired as to if Andrew had sleepwalked. When Kim replied that he did not, Will added that Andrew was unable to reach the lock, proving that he was not the one who had opened it.
What I saw.
Everybody looked back at Travis and asked him if he was telling the truth, that it was Andrew. Kim suggested that since it was the middle of the night, Travis might have been asleep, but Travis firmly stated that he was awake at the time. Paul breaks up the discussion between Will's family and Travis by telling the other family to bring extra food and drink and to keep Andrew alone in the room. Similar to Paul's family, the two families split up for a few days in order to be safe. When Paul asked him again in the room if he was sure of everything he had said earlier, Travis insisted that he never touched the door and instead held Andrew's hands. Despite his dismay, Paul calmly told Sarah and his son to take a shower right away just to be sure, and he added that they should never leave the room no matter what. After having a shower, Travis struggled to fall asleep, and after a while he found himself wandering down the hallway to the open red door with his lantern. Travis eagerly went outside as he heard Stanley barking in the woods. In the midst of the forest, he found a gun and aimed it front. As he kept going, Stanley's barks became more loud, but as Travis came near, he noticed the dogs growling and howling wildly, followed by a scream. Inside, Travis wakes up in bed and discovers that he is having a nightmare. When he looks down, he vomits a lot of blood, which is all over his hands. Trembling and unsure of what is happening, Travis slowly raised his head to see his grandfather standing in front of him, dark eyes and blood dripping from his mouth. A scream broke the room's silence, and Travis got up, realizing it was all a dream. In a panic, he discovered bruises on his arms and rubbed them all together in disdain and terror. His eyes widened anxiously as the cut began to disappear. After looking around, Travis heard Andrew sobbing and, defying his father's order, he opened the door in curiosity to find out what was making the sound. Travis noticed the other family talking. Will was attempting to keep Andrew from weeping because he was ill, and he and Kim made the decision to leave the house so that Paul's family wouldn't overhear them. Travis went straight to his parents' room and informed them that Andrew was ill. He also informed them that they would be leaving at any moment. To his surprise, Paul got up and went straight to the door. Paul heard the noise as well, so he turned to face Travis and asked him if he was feeling ill. When Travis denies, Paul and Sarah get ready because they fear the other family will take their supplies when they leave. Travis, with teary eyes, sat on the floor slowly, realizing that Andrew might have also infected him. Her mother, Sarah, reassured him that he was okay and that she and Paul would return. Paul knocked on the door of Will's family room while Sarah remained on the other spot. Will replied that Andrew was crying because he had a nightmare. This caused friction between the two families. When Will's family did not answer, Paul pushed open the doorknob as Sarah was getting the rifle ready. Paul's firm voice caused Will to open the door a little and spoke to Paul, asking him where Sarah and Travis were before Paul could answer. Will pointed the gun at Paul, who is frightened and anxious. Paul raises his hands as Will disarms him, and Will tells Paul to enter and quickly closes the door. Will, who was still pointing the gun at Paul, angrily and loudly ordered Paul to take off his mask while insisting that no one in his family was ill. Paul shook and remained in the corner. In a dark voice, Will expressed his gratitude to Paul for everything. It was also at that time that he told Paul that their family would be leaving. Paul remains silent in terror as he witnesses Will's family carrying all of their goods. He is unable to stop him, but to obey his commands. After telling his wife to go before him, Will leaves the room, still pointing his gun at Paul. When they left, Sarah pointed his gun at Will. Kim screams when she sees Sarah carrying a gun. Sarah then orders Will to return his gun, but Paul refuses, stating that he wants things to be equitable for both families. He went on to say that he and Sarah should put down the guns together in order to end it peacefully. On a count of 3, they had both put down their weapons. In a forceful tone, Will asked Sarah if she would allow him and his family to leave without shooting him. Sarah declined. As Will begs Sarah, Paul strikes his head violently. However, Sarah follows Andrew and Kim. At the same time, Travis was in the room, weeping and terrified from all the shouts caused by the chaos. In front of his family, Will was tied up and beaten by Paul. Will's wife begged for their release in a tearful voice. After a little while, Paul and Sarah led the pair out of the house. Paul went outside with a sword and bruised one in his shoulder, and Kim sobs as Sarah points her rifle at them while pleading with Paul to release the wife and kid. Paul then yells at Will to stand up, and Will, furious, uses all of his remaining power to stand up and punch Paul this time. Travis, however, left the room right away and hurried outside. Will strike Paul, barely causing him to shatter his face. Sarah killed Will with the gun because she could no longer allow his husband to be hurt. However, Paul quickly reaches for the pistol and shoots it at Andrew, who is running. He succeeds, and young Andrew is shot. Kim stops and sobs uncontrollably as she witnesses her son's death. Infuriated, Kim yelled at Paul to kill her as well. Paul killed Kim without hesitation, and after a moment of silence and sobbing eyes, Travis reached outside and was unable to comprehend what he witnessed. Later that day, all the family members sit silent in trauma. Travis dashes to the sink and vomits blood like he used to. Paul quietly drinks wine. Sarah sighs as she remembers the events. On the next day, Travis awoke to find his mother on his bed. Travis had facial bruises, just like his grandfather, but his mother assured him that everything would be alright and that he could now let go. Travis closed his eyes slowly and saw that he was in the hallway with his lamp exiting through the red door. Despite Paul's long-term protection as the family's leader, the infectious sickness outlasted all of their worries. Thanks for watching, and remember to turn on your notifications to watch more movie recaps like this one.